Hey everybody, welcome to the Becon Rewind podcast. I'm your host, the Big Llama. I'm the Big Llama from the Big Llama Show on YouTube. I have a movie reaction channel where I do first-time movie watches. I also do a Sunday night live stream with my co-host Blackout AD, where we talk about pulp culture, movies, entertainment, UFC fighting, everything underneath. But we're not here for that today. We're here today in the Becon Rewind podcast to talk about a movie that I love, Ready Player One, the 2018 movie from Steven Spielberg. And I brought along a friend with me, my friend, BigPapiAngy, my producer of the Sunday night live stream, is here. And welcome to the Becon Rewind podcast, BigPapiAngy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk about the movie that I love so much. It's my favorite. One of my favorites.
I mean, it's an amazing, phenomenal movie. It's Steven Spielberg. You can't go wrong with that. I would say, again, there's many video game adaptations, many video game movies, but one of the greats. I won't call it the greatest because that starts debate of, what's the greatest, video game movie ever made. This isn't really. It is a video game movie, but it's more.
It's a video game movie. It's definitely a video game movie, but it's not like specifically one video game. It's right. Everything.
It's the concept of a video game, but it's not like specific, like, oh, this is a video game that was adapted for a movie.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think they should retitle this to like Easter egg or something like that, because there are just so many things in this movie
so much
that you in one sitting you can't catch everything. Now let's talk about the ground rules before we get started talking about the movie. Obviously, this is the Becon Rewind podcast. It is technically an adult podcast, and we typically toast it up. But this is my son. This is my 19-year-old son. I'm not going to be toasting it up with him. But so this one is actually okay for the kids. It's okay for the kids. So it's a kid friendly. I would say kid friendly, but it's a young kids movie. There are some scary scenes in it, so it's okay for little ears. So, guys, if you're joining us and you're used to the Becon Rewind podcast, you can toast it up with whatever it is that you got. But we're going to just
apple juice, anything for your kids, milk, chocolate milk,
right.
Orange juice.
Toast it up with some apple juice. Pretend that it's beer. There you go. Yep. That's what you do. So we're going to talk about Becon. We're going to talk about Ready Player One. Excited about it, and just so you know, I love this movie a lot, and any movie that I love tremendously, I go out and buy on 4K Ultra HD. If it's a movie that I'm going to either rewatch, or I want to know more, or I want to capture that movie theater sort of impact, I will buy it on 4K. And trust me, guys, one of the best copies of a 4K movie that you're going to find out there. And we're going to talk about the sounds. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but. Mm-hmm. I think
didn't you say that before, like after we left the movie theater, you're like, I'm gonna buy it on 4K. The second I was like, the second we left the movie theater, you're like, I'm gonna buy it again. I was like, I don't blame you.
No, the movie it's impacted me because I was so entertained. It was so good, and I was surprised because I think you and I didn't even know what this was about. We knew it was a video game movie, but we weren't like planning like, oh my god, we have to go see this movie.
I knew that it was based off of a book, so I knew that much. And I'm no scholar, no reader, but I am a movie watcher. So the second they were like, we can put Steven Spielberg on this, and then we're gonna go watch it, and I was like, well, I don't think we weren't even like skeptical about it. We were like, Steven Spielberg, it's CGI, and it just has a bunch of video game references. We're gonna go watch it, and we're like, all right.
But I feel like it snuck up on us. I feel like we weren't like,
we definitely didn't know what we were going in for.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, it wasn't like we've anticipated it for like a year, and we saw the first trailer and we're like, oh my god, we can't wait to get tickets. We kind of went randomly. We're like, okay, this movie's coming out. Let's go get some tickets. Yeah, we went to see it on IMAX.
It was just like one of those movies where it's like, you kind of understood the premise, and with what the trailer I think showed us was. There was enough to be like, oh, this is like kind of interesting, because it was like so many. There was already so many Easter eggs in the trailer to begin with that we were like, well, what is this about? Because it's not it wasn't anything specific. It was just a whole bunch of video game references that everybody knew. So we were like, we might as well go watch it and see what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I was sold when I saw Battletoads on the screen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they showed the Battletoads, and then I think the DeLorean was
That was like the main focus of it, was that first part.
oh yeah. I mean, when they showed the DeLorean on the trailer, I was hooked. I said, okay,
Yeah.
I got to go see that. But honestly, didn't know what I was getting myself into. We went to go see it in IMAX. I'm going to talk about what my favorite part is, but before we watch the trailer, before we sort of get to the recap in our brains of what this movie's about, why did you like this movie? What's the reason you love this movie?
It was just like we said before, when we first like walked into the movie theater, we didn't know what was going to happen, and then when we leave it, we're like, we still didn't know what we just witnessed, because it was just so good, because it was more of like, it was a good mix between, you know, like the stuff that, you know, or like what you remember like playing as a kid, and then what I knew, because there was more, like there was newer stuff in there that you can kind of pick from, and then we just kind of like shared that like kind of connection with that. And just overall, it was just a fantastic movie, both like from the sound design, like everything that went into like the whole look of the movie, because I feel like it's kind of difficult. Sometimes it could be difficult to like bring a movie to a movie, or bring a book to a movie, and I feel like they did that at least flawlessly. I'd never read the book, so I don't know, but assuming this is what we got out of it, it was probably a really, really good book. So I just like the fact that it was just kind of very easy for everybody to like, you know, gravitate towards, because they had something for everybody, and it wasn't like, it didn't seem like a money grab. It just seemed like something that it was like a fan service movie, but like nobody really needed it because nobody was asking for it. It just kind of,
Right.
they gave it to us, and we're like, oh, okay, I guess we need this now.
Yeah. I mean, it was carefully crafted. Like, it was not, you're right. It wasn't a money grab. The just the contracts alone to get all these intellectual properties, all this IP into this movie is, I can't even imagine how much it costs to get certain franchises from certain, because it didn't just have like a set of from one particular movie house or anything. It had franchises from all over, all different kinds of studios. So for me, like that was phenomenal to think about that. But it's Steven Spielberg. Like, I love Steven Spielberg movies. I don't think there's a bad one that I've watched yet. And every single time, it has heart, it has the story, it has, and then Steven Spielberg has his own stamp of things, where he does some of the similar, camera work for almost every movie. But I was surprised. I was surprised that he was able to put so much relevant pop culture stuff in there that, again, appeals to me, the older viewer, and then you as a younger viewer. Everything was there. Like, there was stuff for me, there was stuff for you, and honestly, it was just a great time at the movies. On the technical side, I think that's why I loved the movie even more when I brought it home. It is just a phenomenal sound design, soundtrack, the 80s soundtrack that it had, but the story is just as good. So like, forget because it could have been easily like a cheese fest, like, oh look, here's
like
the
Mortal
80s
Kombat
thing,
like the Mortal Kombat movie.
Well, no, but I mean,
could
like,
say
like
it. It's okay.
No. It could have been easily like a cheesy, oh look, here's the 80s. Here's the things from the 80s. They had 80s, 90s, 2000s references. They had anime, they had video games,
and it wasn't from like one specific console. It was from like everything. Like anything that you could think of that had to do with like technically the definition of like being a nerd. Like, you knew what was going to be in that movie.
Yeah. And then again, Spielberg is the master. I think he's one of the goats, when it comes to directing. I always find this funny. Tye Sheridan, who's the star of the movie, and I think he was Cyclops in the X-Men movie.
He was the first class one, right? He was the younger one.
Yeah, I call him the poor man's Miles Teller because he looks just like Miles Teller.
Yeah,
or
but he's
has
not
a similar.
Yeah, but he's not bad. Like he's not.
No.
No, he's just like not as like not relevant. But he's been in like pretty decent movies.
No, he's actually Tye Sheridan is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
My thing is you ever have, there's always actors. There's always like two actors that look the same. I think Jake Gyllenhaal has a double. I forgot who it is. But there's always actors that kind of look the same, and Tye Sheridan and Miles Teller have a similar look.
They have that similar. They fit like for if you're thinking of like a movie like who has like the teen or like semi like kind of young adult ish. They both fit the part, but it's like who wants to be a nerd and then who wants to be like a fighter pilot or like a pilot. And you're like, okay, and then we can differentiate the two.
For sure. And then you got Olivia Cooke, who at the time, I don't know how well known she is, but I know right now she is red hot in terms of like her star power because she's in the House of the Dragon, the prequel to oh my god, I'm blanking out on what this Game of Thrones. The prequel to Game of Thrones.
I haven't even seen it. I don't know.
But she's one of the main stars in this, and she's now the main star of House of the Dragon. So that's really, really good. And then you got Ben Mendelsohn, who is the I think he's the bad guy now in every movie you can think of. He was the bad guy in Rogue One. Yeah. He was
He's in Secret Invasions coming up. He was in the MCU.
Right. So cool. He plays great as the bad guy, and he overdoes it in this movie. So again, a great all-star cast. Some unknowns or some people that I didn't know too much of, but the story focuses on one character. But before we get to more analysis of the movie, let's you and I watch the trailer. Let's see if we can't remind ourselves why this movie is so good. Here we go.
They played like 4 songs already. They'd probably get copyrighted.
We're gonna get copyrighted right away.
You get the gist, though. You get the gist.
Yeah, no. And notice something that in the trailer, he only gave you a couple of nuggets. There was not like you didn't see. It
did not do it justice.
No, you didn't see the vastness of the characters you were going to see in the movie. So
it didn't even show the supporting characters either. None of them. They showed.
Well, I mean, in passing, if you didn't know who they were, it just looked like background characters. But that's an effective trailer. It's the story. Spielberg focuses on the story of the Oasis and what it means about money and how people are trying to get to it, and then you have everything else. And you get the rest of the fun parts of the movie. But yeah, classic Steven Spielberg trope. It's dead parents. It always has to be dead parents, or missing parents or separated parents. And I know I watched a documentary with Steven Spielberg on HBO that a lot of his issues he puts on the screen because he wants things to be happy for broken homes. I think his parents were split for a while. And so he will constantly have a character who is searching for family or belonging. So, and that's at the heart of his movies. So, Spielberg does that. He'll put in his life and his soul into these movies, and he doesn't fail. And it's always
not at all.
It's always about the character. It's always about the main character and what his journey is, and that's what you're compelled to. So yeah, you've got. I think I'm looking at the cast list here. You have. We talked about Mendelsohn. You have T.J. Miller, who was the.
I love T.J. Miller.
He was IROC. Let's see. You've got Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg was the curator, and Ogden Mora. So, which was a great twist at the end of the movie there. But yeah, these are top-notch actors, putting in some work. Again, I think if Spielberg knocks on an actor's door, I don't know that anybody just, like drop every project they have and say, I'm going to work with Spielberg. He's one of those names that I think everybody would just take off and
just go
and
for.
Oh, Spielberg's on the phone. I'm done. Thank you. Whatever we're doing right now, I'm done. Oh, this is the birth of my child. This is the birth of my child. Spielberg is on the phone. I got to go.
Gotta go.
But yeah, this movie is just phenomenal. One of the things about the movie that was epic, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, is that the race scene. That is probably technically and visually and sound wise one of the best
scenes
that has ever been put onto film. And the one thing that I thought would be a detraction is when you're in the Oasis, when you go to the Oasis, it's a CGI character. They're like Avatar, everyone's a CGI character, but it never got to me where I'm like, oh, doesn't look right. I think because you're going into the Oasis, because you're going into this virtual world, the fact that everybody is virtual, the fact that everybody is a CGI character makes sense. If he had mixed the live action and the CGI, I think that would have been a mistake.
Yeah, but it's like insane to think about how like I'm pretty sure 90% of the movie is CGI. So for him to have like his same like director like stamp on the movie and do it in CGI is just, it's insane to think about, because it's like, especially in the car scene too, you get all of these angles where it not only does it explain like the story of what's going on at the moment, but also showing you the surroundings of like showing you he's basically world building as he's trying to tell you the story at the same time. And I think that's what he does so good at in the movie, because you don't feel like you are missing anything. Like you don't feel like you need more to understand like what's going on. Like you get like a decent, like you get a very good look at every character that's in the movie. You understand like their background, like what their motive is, and you also get world building at the same time. And it's crazy to think that he did it all majority in CGI and not take me out of it. Like even when you look at like characters and like even the cars, like if you look at the cars, like every car has like a weight to it, but like when they land, you feel it. You don't like get taken out of it because it's like, oh, okay, it's CGI, so it's just gonna lay flat and go.
It bounces and it actually does damage.
It seems real. It seems like everything has like an actual like purpose to it, and even like the smallest detail, like you couldn't tell that it was fake.
No, and its runtime was 2 hours and 20 minutes, so it was a lengthier movie than most average movies. But again, if you watch a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie, and you walk away from it not knowing how fast that time went, that's entertaining. Like that's the minute you look at your watch and go, how much time is left, or the minute you look at your watch and you go, how much how long have we been sitting here? That's when you're a little bit out of the story. But I think in this one, I don't think there was ever a moment where I go, how much time is left? Because one, I didn't know the story, so the story had me like involved. Now, Steven Spielberg is pretty predictable when it comes to how he shapes the movie. So I knew we were coming to the end of the movie because obviously it was that build up for the fourth act, the last act, that I got it. Like it was the big climactic, here it is. So I knew the movie was ending, but at the same time, I wasn't looking forward to it. I wasn't like, oh God, I want this thing to end, or let's just close it out. But I'm telling you, just phenomenal in its approach. The Oasis is an amazing concept. Obviously, it's like meta and the VR and everything else that we got.
But it's like so much. I feel like they thought about it way more than like what is like actually. I feel like that is possible at some point.
I think it's the concept of what it could be. Like that's what I think he's showing you is like the metaverse or the VR world, the virtual reality, all that can be this in the future. It's just not here yet. It's in its primitive stages and it's pretty advanced. But the whole point, and also look, he's also saying a commentary on escaping. Like it's okay to escape. Like guess what I got out of it? It's okay to escape. It's okay to be involved in virtual reality and in video games But then at the heart of it is that there's also the human interaction. You also have to come back to that. And so it's kind of a cautionary tale of like, look, too much, too much of the, and it pokes fun of the pay to play, pay to win, the ads. There's a very meta like discussion in the movie about like Sorrento, the main bad guy. That's what he wants to win the Oasis for, is to put ads,
to make it
sell
a money back, because most of the, I think, like majority of like the economy on it, like remember that the uncle was like, oh, I was supposed to pay for like the house or something like that this month if I got the, like, I think it was like a gauntlet or something like that. He was like, if I won it, if your stupid gloves didn't work or whatever. And then, but it shows that like, because it was, what did it say? Was it 2045 or something?
Yeah, 2045.
Yeah. So it was like more into the future. So it's not just like a thing where like everybody goes to play and have fun. Like it becomes like a lifestyle at some point, especially with like Sorrento's like crew. Like their whole job is to like regulate that, like their spot, and to like make sure they find the Easter egg.
And they had the centers where they punished those that owed money, like the the corporate greed. You borrowed money to get more and more goodies at the Oasis, and now you
have to pay it back.
Yeah, you have to pay it back. You owe the money. Now you've got to go to work centers to work it off. Like that's like,
which is insane to think about, is that you aren't working in real life to pay off. You're working in virtual reality to pay your virtual debt.
Right.
So they just like put you in a box and they're like, okay, go work. You're like,
but I think that's his point, is it's a cautionary tale of taking things too far, like going to the excess of things. Like, and I think it's mostly like gambling and betting and stuff like that. So like, that's where you take it too far, where you're borrowing your money to pay the mortgage to play a game, or to to bet on the next football game. It's the same thing. He's saying like, look, you don't get sucked into these things. Again, the movie is lighthearted, and it's not, but Steven Spielberg underneath layers things. So there are messages that he's sending out in the movie that, again, are we like over diving into it? Probably. Like, people sometimes read too much into things, but
but it shows like, it's just like a little, it's part of the movie. Like, I feel like if that aspect of it wasn't in the movie, there would be no like motive for anybody getting on, unless you like want to play it for fun. So the fact that there was like a reason why people are on there, I feel like it was needed for the movie. But nobody, I feel like not many people are looking at it as far as, we are in this case. But like, even for like like when they were in Ohio, it was like, that was their life. Like that was how they lived, because they were so poor. Like they had to live off of that. So it's like you needed it for the story to move on.
And they were in stacked shipping containers and stacked. It
was like stacked RVs.
Yeah, stacked RVs, and the stacks, as they called it. But that was like, and it shows you the and I hate to use big words, but the juxtaposition of reality versus virtual reality. What the real world is ugly. The real world has ugly things in it, and then you can go and escape to this very pretty, very open, type of world.
You can make whatever world you want.
Right, exactly. But you're living in the ugly. So that's the part that is really, like, again, he's pretty clear about that and showing you that. And Wade Watts is really, it's really kind of a look at him, right? He broken home. He's got this area where he can escape, and movies are obviously Spielberg's escape. Now it's his livelihood, but that's what he grew up doing. Let's look at the movie recap. Let's I'd like to just kind of go through the movie, a couple frames, and let's just see a couple of things here as we kind of explore the movie. And again, for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll get to see it. But for those of you listening on the podcast, we're going to talk through every single scene. So just join along with us here.
Describe it.
We're going to describe everything. So again, it starts off. Spielberg will show you the world as it is today and what he sees. Now, this isn't the first time he's explored the futuristic type world. I think in Minority Report, which is a great movie. I don't think you've seen that one.
No, not yet.
It's similar to this. It's a futuristic world that where he shows you the ugly parts of it about crime, but he's showing you the stacks. He's showing you the realism, and he goes right into the Oasis. Like the voiceover is effective. So in the beginning, you got Tye Sheridan narrating where he lives, what the conditions are, and then he shows you. I think there are it pans right to different people, right?
It shows different people, like how they live or what they do for fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it shows the housewife that's cooking, and it shows the kid that's playing. It shows everybody escaping, as they say, right, to this Oasis, and it shows you that the Oasis is not just games; it's for everybody, and it's has a little bit of everything. And then it's effective because I love it because it changes what the perspective is. You're watching a real human. Real life, traditional movie. And then when he goes into the Oasis, you get that, that turn to the CG, which was really, really great and effective. But it circles around the guy, the creator of the Oasis, James Halliday. And James Halliday is, I think, in my opinion, the 80s.
Yeah, he's like the total definition of what the 80s was.
Right. He's the embodiment of what we thought of the 80s, and he loves everything 80s and early 90s. He is the link. So the way I look at it is Halliday for me is my generation. Like what Halliday did, the things he liked, the things he played are the same things that I played, the same things that I liked. What Wade is you, right? Is today's kids and living in that world.
Yeah, through his view.
Right. But they idolized James Halliday. So they idolized him, and because he created the Oasis, he's basically like a Steve Jobs. This is poking fun like Steve Jobs. Not poking fun, but like an homage to him.
Like an example.
Because Steve Jobs from Apple is a mythical guy. Like, people revere him as this absolute genius right. Well, I mean, he brought the world, the iPhone and the, iTunes, and he's done it all. And so like that guy is revered as, one of the top geniuses of all time. And same thing with Halliday. Halliday creates the Oasis, and you're essentially idolizing this guy for what he did. But again, he embodies all those traits of the guys from the 80s. He plays the games from the 80s. He's the reference. And, Wade is idolizing this guy. So, what's sad is that they also introduced Ogden Mora, which is Simon Pegg's character. And what you get is...
it's like he gets like jealous, but it's not like a jealousy that's like he's more successful. It's like he's not understanding like what he's capable of. Like, and I think in Halliday's eyes, he was just like, oh, I just want like people to have fun. Like this is just for like people to get away and have fun. But what was his name? Ogden Mora. Ogden. Yeah, his whole character. I think he was on the business side of things. So
right.
Like when he came into even when they have they're not on screen much as like themselves because Halliday dies, but he's still like so involved within the movie that you can't like he's the whole point of the movie. Like the movie wouldn't happen, or like that, like everything that wouldn't happen if he wasn't in the movie. So it really shows like a cool dynamic between two people who see two different like sides of like what he made. Because on one hand he's like, oh, I just want to have fun, and the other one's like, you can make a ton of money off of this, and you don't have to live like you've been living all your life. You can actually have a life. He was like, no, I'd rather just live it inside the thing that I made, because it's like that's his life is the thing that he made for everybody. Right. So he wants to live in it. So,
well, I'm because I know that Spielberg puts his own stuff, it's a comparison of his life, right? He makes movies because he loves film, he loves the escape, he loves the imagery, and that's why he started. But it quickly becomes the business, and I think Ogden Mara is the business side of what Spielberg. I mean, don't get me wrong, Spielberg is a smart man who has made millions upon millions of dollars, and trust me, reaps the rewards. But I think that's one of the messages, which is you come at it with a purity of, I just want the world to be happy. I just want to show them, a good
My
time.
idea.
This is an escape. This is my idea. And there's always that pressure to monetize or to make it about money or live off of it because it's a great idea. And so Ogden represents the corporate culture of the money, but Ogden isn't necessarily, at least
he's not like corrupt.
No, he's not like greedy, about like you have to, but he just saw so much more potential that, Halliday's vision could have been if he sold it or if he used it for monetary gains. You could do more, you can get more. And I don't think it was like corporate greed at like Sorrento. But I think it was just like, that just shows you the contrast, and it does sever a relationship between partners. So, so for example, with me doing the Big Llama show and, myself and AD, we're friends who do the show and we have fun with it. The minute money gets involved and the minute things get really, really big, that could sever the relationship. It could be, and that's the danger of always, working with a partner or somebody who doesn't see your creative vision, is there's always some other underlying thing there, and it's always tough to separate. So I'm not saying he and I are Halliday and Ogden, but that's I can see that. I can see it. And then I think that's Ogden's biggest regret, is that he severed. And I think it's in the movie, in Halliday's,
it definitely shows in the movie.
Yeah, in his journal, in the way that they go back, and there's a really creative way they do that. But you can tell it's something that Ogden kind of regrets, that he put that pressure on, and it did sever their relationship and their ties. And I think, not to mention that he married his girlfriend.
Was it his? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was how. So women and business got in the way of Ogden and Halliday,
but it never tore the relationship. It did separate them, but it never tore it, because towards the end, Ogden was, what was it, the butler,
the curator. Well,
the curator.
Ogden. Yeah, I think the curator, or Ogden, felt a
like a guilt.
A guilt and an obligation to help find the person that could possibly take over the Oasis, because he knows the corporate greed that's out there and the people trying to get at it. So he does give a hand to Parzival. So it's interesting. It's interesting how Ogden sort of, and it's Ogden's story arc, by the way. It's not, I mean, Halliday's dead, and Halliday shows you his I think he's pretty simple as a character.
Yeah.
But I think Ogden's character is the one that's the arc is about. Obviously, Wade Watson, Parzival, like the same guy. It's his story, but I'm saying, but in the background, that's what's happening, is that you find out that Ogden was very sorry about what happened, and kind of regretted it. So the movie takes a weird turn, though, because you're compelled and you're watching and you're hearing about Halliday, and then you realize he's dead.
He died. Because I feel like if anybody who didn't read the book and they just like show up and you're like, oh, what, well, why? They're like, that was weird. But it creates the whole movie. That's what pushes the whole movie forward. So it's like, it's a curveball, but it's like you meant to throw it.
And it's a wonderful, I think, throwback to Wizard of Oz and those types of movies where you have like a quest, like you got to go on a quest and find these things, and it starts the ball rolling. He creates the quest within his within the Oasis.
His own death.
Find the keys and you own what I own. So, and he's got a really cool avatar, and he throws the keys out there. And this is all before the credits roll.
Yeah.
So like you get this, whole breakdown. The whole story is told.
You get the whole story in like 5 minutes,
right? Of
and
what
then
they're
they
doing
explain it.
and why they're doing it, all before the credits roll to tell you you're watching Ready Player One. So that's effective because you're invested at that point. And I've said in my reviews all the time, when I know what the story is and where it's going and why it's going there, I'm in. I'm hooked. You've got me. If I have to figure it out, and again, I'm a simple guy when I watch movies, but if I have to like really think about it and it's sort of messy, I get taken out of the movie sometimes. But it doesn't mean that there's a bad movie. It just, those aren't the movies that I prefer. But
yeah,
again,
it's straight to the point. It gets to what it needs to do because there's so much that they need to get through that it's not that he's like disregarding the story. He's explaining it like as simply as possible. So that way people are like, okay, I understand what's going to happen. Now we just have to figure out how, like, what's going to happen. It's just like the next step.
Yeah, and then quickly you're introduced to IOI, which is the corporate, the company who has, people working, and you get, the breakdown of Nolan Sorrento, who's the bad guy. So you figure out that, look, they're going after these keys just like the gamers are. And because they want that precious real estate that, if they own the Oasis, they can commercialize it. And that's not what Halliday wants. But again, he's opened it up to anybody who finds the keys. So you've got these corporate bigwigs doing the, they're trying to get to it. And, Mendelsohn does a great job, and he's hammy.
He's such a good bad guy. He's good at playing a bad guy.
Yeah, and he's hammy. Like, what I mean by hammy is like he's over the top. He's way over the top in the performance, and it works. It works because of he's supposed to be cartoonish, a cartoonish bad guy. He's not grounded in reality.
Animated. Yeah.
Right. He's not grounded in reality. I think he's, but it's again, the corporate guys can get away with it because they got lots of money. Now they've got real people, researchers, and teams that have studied Halliday, that understand who he is, and that's actually pretty cool that they would take the concept of like the nerds and the breakdown guys and the geeks and everybody and use them for their purposes. They know all
figure
about
out what they need to do.
Right. And that was cool because it's like you give a nod to, okay, there are real people who, like us, like we're breaking down movies and we enjoy movies. We're probably movie nerds, right? But there are people who do this either for a living or that they enjoy it so much that they, create, videos, podcasts, and whatnot. And that's the fun part, is like they use that element. And it was so cool because they were the lifeblood of IOI. they
wouldn't be able to figure it out. Yeah.
Right. They had the answers. Now I'm going to glaze over what happens next in this, because the next thing they show you is this amazing car race. The whole scene leads up
everything.
Yeah, the build up, you find out who everybody is, you meet the characters, and they're all about to go on this giant car race. And when I tell you again, I'm not even lying when I say, or being over exaggerated, one of the greatest scenes that you can watch.
There's no music.
None.
No music at all throughout it's what a 3-4 minute scene. No, it's not a single piece of music. It's just sound effects and like audio from just dialogue.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those things where if you watch sorry, I'm trying to not to get the sound in here, but if you watch this scene from beginning to end, and that's all you watch,
that's it.
There's so many Easter eggs. I mean, the things I could name off. There's the T-Rex from Jurassic Park,
the DeLorean,
the
old Batmobile from the original from the TV series.
There's a Bigfoot truck. There's King Kong, and Peter Jackson's King Kong, by the way. Not like it's the one that you see in the Peter Jackson. I think the Peter Jackson one that he did the King Kong movie with Jack Black. But
I know they have Ryu as a character in there.
Yeah.
I don't know any other car that's in there that I remember. But just that noise.
Yeah.
like literally the car's building in front of you, and then you hear like the iconic like DeLorean noise, and you're like, okay, you just have to sit, you have to sit and watch. You can't say anything. To sit and look and just like hear everything. It was I would rewatch it every day if I could. I would.
And what's cool is that like the build up to it, you know, they give you the character introductions. They're showing you all the different avatars that are in there, right? So you meet Parzival, which is Wade Watts. You meet Artemis, X. You meet them all. So you know you start to see everyone that he's associated with, but the scene stops on just the best thing. Like it's the soundtrack is running. Like they're playing. It is
you could see a handful of stuff. Like like what we watch. Like you have to pause it. Like that's like if you have the DVD or like you're able to pause it, you have to like. It's just so nice. Look, they have the what is it? The 18? Is it 18?
Yeah. So there's
the 18 truck.
For you guys on the podcast, we just paused it on a particular screen, and on this screen, there's the pole position F1 car from the old video game. There is the A-Team van. And I'm not sure what this convertible is, but
it just looks like it's probably from something.
It is from something. I'm sure of it. And then,
but I love how they have all like you have all the references, but they're not like. Even if they are in gray, like the normal cars that you see that are part of the what's the company called that they use for the movie?
Oh, you're talking about like Ford? Chevy?
No. I'm talking about like for the company that what's his name runs, like the corporate company.
Like Amblin or Warner Brothers or
yeah, just like all of those, like you notice those cars when they stand out compared to like what is it, IOI, right?
Yeah, the IOI cars are in like
all gray basic cars.
They're very corporate. They're standard generic cars, and they're meant to be background. You know, you don't really care about any of those cars, but
Toyota Prius. There's a bunch of Toyota Priuses on our screen.
For sure. I mean, you've got trains just coming across the screen. This is I think this is a motorcycle from Akira, and
I'm pretty sure.
You've got just an amazing visual. And honestly, the reason that this was so impactful for us, if you watch this on IMAX, you saw everything, but you couldn't see
everywhere.
Your eyes were everywhere. I mean,
the sound was all over the place. It was moving to your left, to your right ear. You were like looking all over the place. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and
they're still telling the story while everything's happening.
Right. It's just not action. They're talking about who they saw, and they're seeing Artemis. They're navigating through the race itself. I mean, it is just, and then you see, look, there's even the flux capacitor in the background.
I think on the DeLorean, I think they had the Knight Rider, like the red dot
in
thing.
the front.
Yeah, in the front. So they keep adding on to the same Easter egg that you already think you're like, oh, it's a DeLorean from Back to the Future. They're like, no, you also added, like, even Percival has like 6 Easter eggs that he wears. Like he has like Han Solo's like hilt, like the whole belt. Like I think his jacket is like I think it's like somebody's sword or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then they do some slow motion stuff here. Like there's
like Tron, they pull like a Tron.
Yeah, like a Tron cycle moment.
Yeah,
and then it's just such a it's what you wanted to, like, for example, from Back to the Future. You got the DeLorean, right? And in the movies, the DeLorean does basic things in the regular movie. In this movie, the DeLorean does what it's supposed to do. Right? Like if it was made today.
Well, because the movie, it's kind of like the movie prepares you for this moment because you know what it is. And he did, and that same Akira car did the Akira thing, which was the slide. Yeah, he does the slide out and then push out. So he does the same, and then they do the DeLorean where it turns. It's not flying; wheels. It's just hovering. But it's doing its job because you know it from the movie. So it's just like it's not like an inside joke type thing where it's like, oh, you would have to know it if you watched it. but everybody knows what it is. So it's
Right.
like, you know what that thing, like if you saw the car, you would know that what that movie's from. Now there's like different Easter eggs where they, you have to know a little bit more, or you would maybe have to watch this thing that not many people know of to understand it. But for anybody who's coming to watch this movie is a nerd. Like,
yeah.
So they already automatically know everything that's going on in the movie. So it's like you have all of these movies from past years build up for this movie to just do it justice. It's just like, I'm going to put this in here because you know what it is, but I don't have to explain it.
No, and none of it is explained. Like the set piece that we paused on is like a Chinatown scene. I gotta believe it's from a movie or it's a background that's popular. So there's just so much to sort of take in. And then what's cool is like now Steven Spielberg starts using his own property. Like he's got the T-Rex from Jurassic Park just annihilating things, and has it do the signature like noise that it makes in the middle of this thing. And you're not, and again, because it's the OASIS, because it's the the metaverse or whatever it is, it's so much fun. You're not going, oh, this isn't real. Oh, this is,
you're not scared.
No,
you're not scared. You're like, in the movie, I'm excited, but like if you're driving that car, of course you'd be like a little hesitant because you're like, it might like freak you out a little bit, but watching it, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna die. So there's like,
right. I mean,
that's why everybody's driving so recklessly. It's like everybody drives with the intent to win, but they don't care if they like die trying because they could just go back.
I mean, look at this, and they bring in King Kong, right? And the great track, the soundtrack has you see and hear him. Like he goes off screen, you hear him on your right.
You hear him like run. You hear him run. You hear him like start pacing, and you're like, "What is that?" And he comes jumping over. Like he almost looks like he's jumping over you. Like when you're looking at the screen, and he just falls right in front of you. You're like, and even like you look.
It's such a great scene. I'm telling you, you watching it on YouTube or watching it on this podcast as we've been breaking it down, or listening to us describe it, does not do it justice.
You have to you can't explain what's going on. You have to watch it and just like, it's one of those things that you can't like verbally talk. You have to like watch it. You have to look at it. It's a visual thing that you have to experience because it's like, it really. I mean, listen,
we could have talked the entire hour and a half of this podcast on just the race.
On that,
yeah. So,
that's how good the movie is. There's so much more in it that you can talk about. There's like 8 more scenes that are like fantastic.
For sure. What's cool though, they move on from the race. Obviously, King Kong is like there's a cheat code. Like you can't get past him.
To it. Yeah,
he is not. There's no way you can do it on a regular. There's a side mission or something that you must do to win. But the way that they find out on what these things are is, again, a great concept is instead of just thinking back or getting it, like you go into what they call the Halliday journals.
I think they started. It was like a part of like kind of like an update when he died. Like they were like, oh, it popped up the second he died. So it was like weird that everybody was like, when did this pop up?
Right, and then he put it in there though. It's his thoughts. It's the main memories.
Every memory that he had,
and it's it has the clues. It has the clues to the secrets of the keys. So you meet the curator in this one, which again, at the time, you don't know that it's Ogden Mara and you don't know that it's Simon Pegg's character. You just know that it's a character that's in this journal. But I honestly, the first time I watched it, I didn't know it was Ogden.
No, it was a good twist. It was a smart twist.
Right. And then, in going in there, Parzival figures out how to get the first key. The cheat code was go backwards.
He was talking about
do it backwards.
It was some like reference to like a game or something like that.
Oh no, they were talking and he goes, I wish we can just go backward. Backward as fast as as fast as we can. I wish we could just go back. Is what and he rewinds that a couple times and you figure out, oh God, it's not about going forward in the race, it's just head back. And then you see how the race is built, you see the underneath. and then he gets the key. He's the first to the key, which with it comes rewards and prizes. And so, just a really cool thing. And then what he does is he shares it with his friends. So the rest of the guys who he's got his crew or his clan, they all get to the key. So they're all the first to the key. They all reap the rewards, onto the next mission. But again, that is fun. That is fun to watch somebody just kind of go through the motions of, here's mission 1, here's mission 2. Like, I love that. And it's so video game. It's such a video game move. They have stage 1, stage
thing,
2.
Finish it. Go to the next one.
And that's, I think, again, that's the building of the story for gamers, is that makes sense to people who game, right? It's like, I got the first key, I move on to next level. You could have easily moved the story, but it was so cool that was like the transition point.
Like, you have to get the first one to get the second one.
Of course. Yeah. And what happens in the movie, and again, we could go frame by frame, but I want to talk about a couple of key scenes. There is now more and more. So as they're trying to figure out where these keys
trying to find the
are,
next clue for the second clue,
right?
Or for the second key.
They start to now get into the nostalgia, and I honestly think, like, there was the Zemeckis Cube, right? That when you get the Rubik's Cube, that was called
a
the
Rubik's
Zemeckis
Cube. Yes.
Right? Which is a totally 80s thing. And when you used it, it played that iconic Back to the Future Alan Silvestri.
Well, the whole point of the
soundtrack.
cube was like you're able to reverse time. I think it was like 30 seconds. 30, 45 seconds, one of the two. But what the cool thing about it was you had to solve it. It wasn't solved. So you had to solve it, throw it, and then it would reverse back 30 seconds. And that same, like, Back to the Future noise came on, and I curled up in a ball. And I was like, that was the best thing I've ever heard. Because it's so smart. Because that's why the sound design is just so phenomenal. It's because like I said, you have to watch you have to watch another movie. You know it from another movie. So when you see it and you hear it happen, you're like, it's automatically like, you remember that, you're like, oh, it's Back to the Future, but it's also like, because it's about time, and like it pairs everything together with like 6 Easter eggs in one, and he's just like, okay, here we go.
He's I got the Zemeckis Cube, and he uses it, and you hear that noise, and honestly, you're transported to the movie.
Because he uses the cube because he gave away his real name. He wasn't supposed to give away his real name because
right.
IOI was on his tail.
Yeah, they find out who he really is in real life, and that's where the problem starts. And that's what I think the genius of what Spielberg can do is that he makes it, there are problems in the OASIS, and you solve those problems and things, but he brings it back to reality, which is they find out who Parsifal is in the real world.
But he first tries to like bribe him. He tries to go like the corporate route, which is like, I'll give you like, what did he say? It was like $2 million or something like that for it.
Yeah, I'll give you this money. You'll work for me forever. Like you have a job no matter what you want. I mean, yeah, he tries to bribe Parsifal or Wade, and but that's not what Wade wants. And see, that's where the whole point of him being pure of heart and being like a character who Spielberg wraps his movie around is that he's not going to be persuaded by the greed. He's not going to be, caved to where I would have caved. You told me $3 million or a couple $1 million and I get a guaranteed job.
No.
I give you the key in a second.
I have what you don't. Like you have, like you need it. I'm not going to give it to you. Because I found it. I was like, you got to figure it out.
Nah, man, I would have given them the key. The key would have been his.
Now, if I had 2 keys, maybe. Actually, no, because I still wouldn't do because I'm already one there. I have 1 more left.
That's true. Now, if I was closer, if I had key 2, I wouldn't give it to him. But key 1, and it took me this long to get the key.
If you think about, okay, so like if we didn't take the steps that he did and he like said his name or whatever, you figure it out. I wouldn't say my name. You figure out who I am. I'm like changing my avatar. I'm like, you can't figure out who I am. Like you're not gonna recognize me.
But Parsifal said his name, and they figured out where he lived. They know who he is. You can change your avatar all you want, but they know who you are in real life, and that's the problem. That was the problem. That was the issue in the movie. Was, so again, like the movie now at this point is a pretty much beat. Like it becomes a typical movie. You know where the bad guys are. They blow up his house in stacks,
which is super. Like I don't even think we. Like
it got dark.
It got real dark for like a couple minutes, and like, but he was dealing with like so much that he didn't like, If I saw my house and my aunt, like the only family I have left is left in there, and they just fall. In my, I have no house, I have no family. I'm lost. Like I wouldn't just sit down and cry. And then he's just like, I gotta find a second key. Like I need to find a key. I was like, dude, you need a break.
No, but it got dark because his family got killed, and not to mention the hundreds of thousands of people in the stacks that they just blew up.
We didn't even mention that. We were like, oh, it's dark because his uncle and aunt died. But those people that, like, you look behind him, he made it out, but all those people that were behind him did not make it out of that fall.
No,
and I was like,
they were running away from the falling stacks, and they all died. So Spielberg has a way of kind of like bringing it to a really dark place, and again, that's the reality. It brings you back to my storytelling or his storytelling to say, here's where I'm coming back to reality with you. But yeah, he mass homicide of all the people in the stacks. They're all dead.
Corporate company kills Ohio. Have you seen that? The memes about just killing Ohio? They were like, they call it, it's like Down with Ohio. They do that whole thing. They were like, we should make Ohio underwater to make it a beach. And everybody up there's like, yes, that is a smart idea because we don't need Ohio. Like nobody likes Ohio. So the fact that he just killed off Ohio in one scene is insane. Because that's a fan service right there. It's just getting rid of Ohio.
Everyone in the stacks is gone.
Yep, they're like, great, we got rid of Ohio. We have nothing to worry about.
So again, Parsifal is now found out. Wade is now running for his life. He gets kidnapped, which we're thinking, okay, Nolan Sorrento got him, but he winds up in the custody of Artemis. And at this point, we don't know Artemis's name because she's not stupid enough to tell him his name. And they meet in person. And obviously, Artemis is a good-looking, female character, and there's an attraction there. So again, Steven Spielberg, for many things, they're both insecure about their appearances. And
she has like a birthmark on her face or something.
Right. And their avatars are. Yeah, and that's what she's hiding in the game. Yeah. I think their avatars are kind of like what I want to look like, right? That's kind of what he's saying here. But he meets her in real life, and then that kind of starts the realness of, like, it's not just a game because you love Halliday. It's like there's a life-changing issue here, and she's more on like the revolutionary side to make sure that to bring down the corporate greed, and he's more of like still about, oh, this is just a game. So
and then we get this amazing, this scary scene.
The next thing you see is they go back in the game to get to
they go back to the library.
And they go back to the library. They figure out where the second key is supposedly. And they go and they do, I wouldn't say shot for shot, but damn near close remake of The Shining.
The Shining. Which is so cool that they show like the movie theater first. And then I think when they open the door to go into the movie theater, it's the stairs.
They're in the hotel. Yeah, they're in the hotel that the movie takes place. And they've got the iconic, the twin girls. The soundtrack, the maze, they got everything. They got everything in there, and it's so well done. It is so well done.
And it kind of puts like what would you do type scenario on it, because it's like we wouldn't like. It's kind of like how we would get out of there or something like that, and it's kind of like it kind of humanizes like the whole movie itself. You're like, well, these guys are freaking out. Everybody else would freak out if they were in the same scenario. So it's smart. It's a smart scene. But getting there, like the whole it had to do with like his girlfriend the girlfriend that he was with, or his wife.
Oh
and
yeah,
the
to ask her to
first date that
dance.
they went on, but it was like the movie that he went to go watch after the date didn't go through or something like that. So it's like super specific on The Shining. You're like, how did you get there? But they explained it so well that you're like, oh, okay, I'm not lost.
Yeah, because I think it was the creation that the creator hated, which was Stephen King didn't like The Shining or something like that. And
yeah,
so
it was like that 1 and 1 together or something like that.
Yeah, they figure it out and they go and again, it's a nod to the older generation. Obviously, the younger people watching this movie, if they've never seen The Shining, they just think it's a really scary scene.
I didn't see it.
No, but what I'm saying, what you got out of it was
this is not a movie I should watch by myself.
Well, what you got out of it was, I think, what's his name? I forgot the character's name, but the big one. The big one could be anybody. Let me see. Etch. So she's saying, I've never seen The Shining. Is it scary? Like that's your reaction.
That's where like the younger generation reaction is like, oh, what is this about?
Right. And then and again, that's what makes a movie great, like experience great, is that younger folks see it and they're terrified because they're not sure what this is. The older folks are watching and they're like, I know exactly what this is, and holy shit, they redid it. And it's
crazy that you just walk in and everything looks the same and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, like this is The Shining, and then again, if you've seen the movie or love that movie, you appreciate the scene tremendously. If you have not seen the movie, you appreciate the scare elements and you go, I don't know if I want to see that movie, right? Like, so it gives you the best of both, because later on they give you the young stuff. So there's old, there's new, there's old, there's new. And that's, I think, what makes a movie like this, and probably movies like the new Top Gun Maverick, make those movies so appealing to so many people, such a mass swath of people, is that it has something for everybody. It has new stuff for younger people who love these types of movies, has the old nods to the old heads who go to watch it for nostalgia. It's great. So the same thing here. Steven Spielberg does a great job of that Shining scene. They find the key. They move on and they got the second key. And now again, it starts heating up. They start getting themselves into trouble. And what follows is kind of, now I would say that this part of the movie was a little bit rushed because it had to move very quickly to
get to the big ending.
Right. So there's a whole sequence where they break down where you go, like the camps where you go to like pay off your debts and everything else. And I think that was kind of rushed in the movie, but
it's not important. Like, you think about it at the grand scheme of things, it's not really important.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not. And so you get to meet the actual characters, who they are in real life. So the people voicing the characters, I think, are now seen in real life. And then they go right back to the OASIS and find or try to find the third key. Now, this is where the movie just completely explodes, is that whole final sequence of the battle, where every single Avatar character, game, every horror movie franchises,
anything you can think of is in there.
And this is why it's like it must be rewatched. It must be viewed over and over again. There's just a couple of scenes like that you go, I have to see this again. Or
my favorite scene's in there. It's my favorite scene.
Yeah, I mean
the whole like the whole build up and everything, and then after they have the Mecha Godzilla, which was so fitting for the corporate like the IOI. Like, it fits so well for them. And then you go and figure out like everything else. I think you could pull up just the scene itself. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Scene. Yeah. So what builds up is this, there's this ginormous sort of call to action. Parsifal goes and he makes this big grand speech. Great speech to bring together all the people. And one of the things we didn't talk about is like when you time out, when you lose it on the in the OASIS, you lose your fortune. You lose your
you lose everything that
you've built up to that point. And the problem was obviously is people invested money and time, and you don't want to die in the OASIS and lose all your money. So this was a pretty big deal to have all these people come together to fight for a common cause. But I mean, there was just so many references. Chucky is in this, the Battletoads, the Gungans.
That whole scene with that the gauntlet, and he's like, he's able to turn into. I pray to God that they have it on here.
Yeah, and then you have the Iron Giant. Favorite. The Iron Giant.
Yeah, the Iron Giant is literally in the movie.
Oh my God! And that, like, to me, that again, old and new. You have the Iron Giant for I watched that in my youth, and it's great. It's great. And then you
can pause it right here and find at least 10 people who in this snow scene. There's 500 people in here that you can see.
Yeah, I think there's an Iron Man in there I just saw. There's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what, again, a movie like this it demands rewatch. It demands that you go back and you watch it over and over again, because there's just so much that you could possibly miss. There was the Ed 209 from RoboCop. I mean, you've got the DeLorean stuff, obviously still doing some damage.
Their guns are even, I think.
Yeah, their guns are from
Halo.
Video games or different things. There's let's see. You said Mechagodzilla. There's the Gundam. There's Street Fighter. I mean,
the Ninja Turtles. The new Ninja Turtles are in it.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles are in it. I mean, Battletoads. I mean, you've got everything in there, and it's Halo. Halo. I mean, listen, we could sit here and name over and over again all the franchises and things. And then there's this big scene right here where he summons the
turns into a literal Gundam for 45 seconds, and he hits that. He hits the shot. That's, oh my goodness. If everybody has to watch the movie. If you listen to, I can't play it obviously, but if you listen to how everything just plays out, it's just it smooths your brain out. It just makes you feel so nice.
And then right there, he strikes the pose, and that's it right there.
The main pose and makes the sound effect of the show. Again, curled up in a ball. I cried. I shed a tear when that happened.
I mean, like I said, it's so good. It's so good. And that's why, and again, that's why I love doing these podcasts and rewatches and rewinds, because there's just so much to good movies. There's so much to good film.
You would never think that a Gundam would fight Mechagodzilla. You just don't think about it.
And the same scene with the Iron Giant along with Chucky. There's just no...
none of them make sense, but it feels so correct. It just feels right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just so good to see. And again, this is why this movie is perfect. It's a perfect movie in the sense of it's entertaining. It's fun. It's got the Easter eggs. It's for nerds. It's for casual fans. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. The movie itself. I know. I'm
gonna go watch that same scene when we're done with this. I'm gonna listen to
it. Let's put on the earphones in there because it's late night when we're recording the session. But no, I think the movie ends pretty much how you would expect. The cool part, I think, is that and this Steven Spielberg kind of dragged it a little bit at the end. He gets the last key. They meet Halliday at the end, his final hologram, and he's got a choice to make.
The plot twist was that he had to sign. He was like, "Just sign the paper, and it's all yours." And he was like,
And
no,
that
you would never
and,
sign a paper.
and that's exactly what the Ogden Mara was asking
Exactly.
him to do, was sign here and you get the complete control. And it was a test. Like, are you going to, be doing the same? Are you going to make the same mistake? And so it finished on such a great note. No, again, Nolan Sorrento gets arrested for being a murderer of the Stacks.
Literally a genocide on Ohio.
and
Kills Ohio.
And then he has an option. Like he shares the Oasis money and the claim with his clan. Shido and Etch and all these guys get a piece of the Oasis Artemis. And then the moral of his story, or the moral that Steven Spielberg puts at the end, is that you can't escape all the time. You can escape, and it's okay too, and it's perfectly good. But human relationships and relationships with people are essential, and so they shut down the Oasis for certain days so that people can actually escape,
like 2 days a week,
right, and turn it off and be a part of like reality. So, but that this is why, again, that we can gush about this movie, and a lot of times that's all we're doing in these podcasts is we're talking about our favorite scenes, we're talking about the things that we love most, and in this one, there isn't a dull moment for me. It was just, it's fun from beginning to end, and I people, not people, my family know that I'm a big nerd when it comes to my sound system, and
Yes.
I don't have.
I was going to mention that. That before when we were talking about the race scene.
Well, I don't have the best sound system in the world, but I invested in one that I really love. I really love. Why are you shaking your head?
It does. It's
a good sound system.
It's okay. Although sometimes when it does go to certain action scenes, it does like to just turn off. It pauses for a second.
It switches the sound. I know, but listen, guys, look, I don't tell people much of my personal stuff. Just know that everything that I have now, I worked really, really hard for, and when I buy something that I think is a little bit overpriced but like worth it, I love it. I cherish it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. I
only give you stuff for it because you love it so much.
I do. I do.
It sucks.
So what happens is if you share the same love for movies that I do, and you have some affinity for movies, when you come to my house, I pop in Ready Player One
every time,
and I play the race scene for every single person.
He's like, "Do you have a soundboard?" And they're like, "No." You're like, "Oh, you don't? Let me show you something real quick." He's like, come sit in the middle of the couch. Sit in my seat. Sit in the middle of the couch.
Right.
He always says that. Sit in my seat in the middle of the couch. I'll play it for you, and then you'll buy one. Nobody has bought one yet, but
they are impressed.
They are very impressed.
So
they're a little jealous, but
this is the scene that I play. I play the race scene every single time, and it never disappoints. I play it not top level. I can't crank it out, but I play it loud enough to get the gist of everything. And this is why I was saying this: the Atmos track is one of the best ones that I've heard. I have a lot of movies on 4K Atmos, and a lot of stuff on Apple TV. And honestly, this is one of the best ones. This one, Saving Private Ryan, which is another Spielberg classic. And there's a couple of others, but there's rarity where you go, this is amazing. Like, this is great. The sounds make sense, and they travel and they move. And so for me, a sound freak, a sound nerd, the best for me to watch when I really want to like enjoy the system. But aside from that, it's just so much fun. And we even missed the references. There's a Prince Goro from Mortal Kombat. There's an Alien reference in there. There's a Buckaroo Banzai. There's a Saturday Night Fever.
There's a ton. Kevin Bacon outfit.
Yeah, there's the Kevin Bacon Footloose outfit. I mean, there's just so much. Everything. So much stuff. There's a Minecraft world, right? I think there's like in that opening sequence, there's just everything.
Like small stuff. Just everything is scattered in there. If you think about a game, it's in there. You
Yeah.
just have to find it.
Exactly. And that's the cool part. Like on so the first time you watch it, you go, there's so much like visually that you take in that you can't catch everything. And you go, oh, look at that. Oh, did you see that? Oh, and then the second and third time you watch it, it's like, okay, I'm looking for the next Easter egg. I heard this one was in there.
You
And
can watch it like 8 or 9 times and still find something new every time.
exactly. And it's just, again, I love it. So again, I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then we'll look at some trivia and look at the box office. But my thought on it is, I recommend it to anybody. If you have kids, it's a little bit like, if you have small young kids, like, between 5 and 7 years old, they might get a little scared on the shining scenes. And there's a couple of scenes that are a little bit scary for kids. But other than that, like, if you have kids and they love video games and they play Minecraft and they play all these kinds of things online, like, watch this movie with them. Like, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. It's rewatchable. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It is, again, I'm so glad I bought the movie. I'm so glad that I can watch it in different formats. And I'm glad we saw it in IMAX. Like, if it gets re-released again ever, I would go to the movies again to see it. Yeah. What would you think? What's your parting shot on the movie?
It's definitely a perfect movie. It's one of those. It's very hard to come by. These days. But yeah, it's definitely like, that's one of my comfort movies that I watch. Like, I could watch it 100 times and not get old. Like, it can't get old. But it's just one of those things where, like, everybody can get on board with the movie, even though if you don't know anything, like, you can be like underneath a rock for hundreds of years and come out and be like, oh, this is a good movie, because it's just it's smart. It does everything correctly, and it's like a prime example of like a really good like video game like genre of movie. And that's why I feel like it's like, I praise it so much, because it's like so hard to come by on like this like idea. Like, whoever came up with this idea is like a genius, because it's like everything that you need, everything that somebody wants in a movie is there, and it's done correctly.
Yeah. I mean, it's Spielberg. It's top notch. It's got his touches on it. It's got, and I think one thing that he doesn't get credit for, or he probably does, but I think that people don't really admire too much, is how clean his movies are in terms of image quality, in terms of the scenes. He knows exactly what pieces he wants in certain spots. Some things are not
precise and like calculated.
Right. It's not done accidentally. At least that's my opinion on the whole thing. But listen, the budget for this movie, what would you, wild guess, how much you think it spent to make this movie?
I'd say maybe like, I feel like it's too low if I say 125 million, but I feel like I'm gonna say 200. I'll say 200.
You're not far off. It's $175 million movie.
Okay, that's actually insanely. Yeah. You would think it would cost way more.
Right. Well, with the CGI, they do save, but it's a lot of. I think a lot of that's tied into licensing and rights, contracts.
Yeah.
I mean, the CGI is phenomenal. The effects, the sound, everything is phenomenal.
I feel like he wasn't lazy. Like, he didn't be like, just because something's off in the background, he's gonna be like, no, you could like throw up like a really like bad simulation back there and it won't work anything.
No, like, it's clean.
Nobody will notice it. It's clean, all like 100% through the movie. Yeah.
So so $175 million budget. Its opening weekend, it made $41 million. So that's not huge by the standard.
$6 quadrillion. It should have made.
Well, I think and I'm going to look at some of the reviews here in a second in the trivia, but it made overall 137 million in the U.S. and Canada. Like, that's the domestic gross. But worldwide, it made almost $500 million. It was $582 million.
Okay, I was going to say that's.
So it made its money. It's a success, and I think they're working on a Ready Player 2 or something like that. Is what I read, but it underperformed. It underperformed in its opening weekend. I think
it was underrated. It was definitely an underrated movie.
Yeah, I don't think it. And now
it was slept on. It was a little bit slept on.
And this movie came out when? Let's see. This came out
2018, right?
2018. And I'm not saying that we weren't already in that culture where we break everything down. I just I think it just wasn't. It was something different. I think we were in the height of the Marvel era of blockbuster movies, and so.
So you got Deadpool 2 came out. Okay. Aquaman, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, so not that you had movie fatigue, but there was so many options, so many great movies that year. That again, I think it was vastly underrated. I think if the part 2 comes out, it will have a better performance for sure because people love this movie now, and that they've gotten to see it either at home or when it first came out. Let's look at something. Let's see what the trivia says here. I love going into the trivia and then looking at some things.
You know what came out that year too? It says, Black Panther.
Oh God, and that one
and Infinity War.
Oh, okay. So
he picked the worst year.
Well, I mean, if you knew those two movies, but again, who knew that those were going to be $billion dollar-movies?
Venom came out too that same year.
Yeah, I mean, 2018 was like chef's kiss of movie years. Like
that's a great year for movies.
Yeah, it's amazing. Before everything started shutting down. So it says here in an interview, Steven Spielberg said this was the third most difficult movie that he has made in his career, and he puts it behind Jaws and Saving Private Ryan for difficulty of making a movie. And I agree.
Was Saving Private Ryan first?
It was Jaws first, 1975. Really? Saving Private Ryan was in 1998, and this one was 2018. So,
but difficulty-wise, do you think Saving Private Ryan was probably harder?
I think Saving Private Ryan was probably the hardest to make.
Jaws didn't even seem that hard. Well, considering the time period, maybe.
Well, the problem was the practical effects of Jaws. Like the reason you don't see the shark but 8 minutes in the movie is because he had problems with the shark. It wasn't necessarily that he was the master of suspense. It was the shark kept looking really bad and it kept performing and malfunctioning. So the more that he wanted to feature the shark, if you saw less of him, it started to create the tension. I don't think he purposely wanted the shark to only be in the movie.
Tension, yeah.
No, I think he wanted more. I think he wanted more shark. So it was difficult. And plus, in water, those things don't. Really...
I would assume. Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see. It says here, besides the obvious Bigfoot, DeLorean, and Acura vehicles, other notables in the race were the Mach 5. That's right. Speed Racer's Mach 5 was in there.
He had to be in there. I was going to say he's bound to be in there somewhere.
He's in there because I remember seeing it. Yeah. The Batmobile, the A-Team van, the V8 Interceptor, the Christine car from the Stephen King, the Pork Chop Express from Big Trouble in Little China, the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit, the RV from Spaceballs. Like,
really?
It's this is what's in the this is what's in those frames that we just didn't find. So this is why I love going into this trivia stuff. Let's see. It says here, during the race sequence when King Kong appears, the theme from the original 1933 film composed by Max Steiner is played. So I guess faintly in the background they play the
you could probably
theme.
We
have to listen for it. Let's see what else here.
That would be a crazy car to drive. Is the Spaceballs car?
Oh God, yeah, that'd be fun.
Car. That'd be so cool to drive.
Let's see. Artemis uses the M41A pulse rifle from the film Aliens.
I think somebody had that alien like crane suit. I think somebody was wearing that too.
Oh, here we go. Look, this is something that we didn't know. Now we got to go back and watch. It says here around the 35-minute mark. It says here, Halliday is shown on the cover of Wired magazine with a QR code. The QR code is readable and links to an accompanying article on Halliday from July 2018.
There's no way.
There's no way.
I'm gonna find it.
Oh my God. Let's see. Okay, so you were right. It says here, Parsifal may be driving the DeLorean, right? That's the kit that he has. But the back and forth red lights are the cars from the grill and a nod to Kit from Knight Rider. So you were right on the money there. Let's see. This one is pretty cool too. It's okay.
They say the QR code was found in the trailer, and that was like it was kind of like press. So like you read about it, so you learned a little bit about the character before you watched the movie.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Let's see. It says here the semi truck blocking the road in the middle of the opening race is the truck driven by Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China, because that's where that truck was. Okay, this is cool. It says here the OASIS. The word OASIS is an acronym. It stands for Ontologically Anthropocentric Sensory Immersive Simulation.
Yeah, just call it OASIS.
I'm not going to be able to.
Just make life easier. Acronym? No, it's the word. There's no acronym.
It's OASIS. It says here during the garage scene, you can see a copy of the Ed 209 from RoboCop. I think I did see it in the battle sequence.
Yeah. Oh, and what was it? Pee Wee Herman's bike is in there too in the garage.
Oh yes, the Pee Wee Herman's bike is in that. Here we go. I didn't know this, and now we got to look for it. It says Boba Fett is at the bar where the dance number is done.
That makes sense. Because
you
can't even see it
now.
There's no way you can, because it's not dark, but it's like you can kind of get like a silhouette out of somebody. That's because Deadpool and Harley Quinn walk out when Percival walks in.
All right, so it's okay. So this is during the scene, and this is where I'm trying to figure out where the freaking Spaceballs thing is. This is during the scene in the shop. In the background, you can see the flying RV from Spaceballs, the Eva pod from 2001 Space Odyssey, Colonial Viper from Battlestar Galactica, a Starfighter from Buck Rogers, Ed 209, and then the loader form from Aliens. So there's too much in that garage for us to... Oh my God, this is crazy.
I'm gonna try to find it in this. I have the video pulled up. I'm gonna try to. You want to put it up here?
What's that with the
video? I have the garage.
Yo, let's see if we can. Well, it's hard for people listening to the podcast, but
if you can tell we find something if we start yelling.
If we start hooting and hollering, for sure.
Yeah, if we figure it out.
So guys, if you're watching this, if you're watching this on the podcast or listening to this on the podcast, you can go to the YouTube channel, go to the Big Llama Show on YouTube, and you could actually watch this video broadcast. So you can see what we're seeing here. Again, we're trying our best to describe it for everybody because we know this is a podcast, but just in case you want to see it, it's there. So I don't.
There it is. Okay. I didn't see, and the alien things in the back too. What's behind him?
I don't know.
Move a frame at a time. I can't.
No, you might not be able to. But we found it. It's definitely in the garage. There's the Spaceballs van.
Oh, we forgot to yell. You're supposed to yell.
Oh yeah!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Let's
Spaceballs! Oh my God!
Let's do what was that? Soups guy? Oh my God!
Oh yes! I have to have giant fists though. I have to have huge fists.
Oh my God! All right, so.
So it's there.
All right, it's there. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to digest for sure in this movie. All right, so Ready Player One, again, a movie we would definitely recommend. So much fun. It was fun to do a walk back and just talk about this. And again, we've probably missed 100 things you might want to hear or talk about. So if you're listening to the podcast, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you're watching this on video, hit us up in the comments in the YouTube channel. Let us know what your favorite part of the movie is, what facts we got wrong. Again, we're just guys who love movies and we love talking about movies, and this is why we're doing this podcast. So the Be Kind Rewind podcast. So guys, let's do the final advertising thing. Listen, if you like our podcast, if you like the Be Kind Rewind podcast with the Big Llama Show, what you can do is on Apple Podcasts, you can give us a 5-star rating. You can give remarks about what you liked about our podcast. We've got other podcasts available. We have The Departed that we've done. We've done the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And then we also did Goodfellas. So we've got those in the back catalog. If you're interested in those movies, check those out. We're going to be doing more. We're going to get into The Godfather. We're going to get into Scarface. We're going to get into the Harry Potter series. So we're definitely going to be exploring more and more movies. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us. Follow me on all the social medias at The Big Llama Show, wherever you find social media. I'm there at the same name. Not very creative, but that's my name. Again, now if you want to support the channel, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit us up in the comments. Again, any parting shots, Big Papi, before we exit the premises?
I mean, if you're promoting, I'll promote. I don't know how this works. I don't really have anything to do. I do have social media. If you follow me, Facebook, all that good stuff. Instagram. It's the same name, BigPapiAngy. But yeah, that's about it.
All right.
I don't really do anything. I'm just here. I'll take a free follow though.
Well, listen, guys. BigPapiAngy is the producer extraordinaire on the Big Llama Show podcast. He's the Big Llama Show live stream producer. So we go live every Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our co-host Blackout AD. Again, we talk pop culture, we talk movies, we talk everything, and that's just a fun time that we have with our fans and the Llama Nation. So if you want to join us there, that's Big Papi's main job there, and he also produces all of the overlays and images and title work for
right
us.
Here? Right there. Do that, but I made that too. That thing right there did that too. Just say.
Yeah, no, for sure. And guys, if you like the Be Kind Rewind podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on the Be Kind Rewind podcast. I'm the Big Llama. He's Big PapiAngy. And guess what, guys? Be Kind Rewind. It's movie night, and we're going to see you on the next one.
I never lose, baby. You're the one I keep as my heartbeat, baby. I'm my metronome.